When my daughter Jessica told me, "You're not family anymore," during Christmas dinner, I felt my heart shatter into a million pieces. By the next morning, I had calmly transferred the $2.8 million house back to my name legally. And that was just the beginning. Justice had to happen. You won't believe what I did next. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and tell us where you're listening in the comments. My name is Robert Martinez. I'm 62 years old and I live in San Jose, California. I have one daughter named Jessica. She's 31 years old and married to a man named Brandon Walsh. Jessica and Brandon have been married for 5 years. They have 2 children, my grandchildren Emma and Tyler. This story is about what happened during Christmas dinner last year, the dinner that destroyed our family forever. Let me start from the beginning so you understand everything. I raised Jessica as a single father after her mother died when Jessica was only 8 years old. For 23 years, it was just Jessica and me against the world. I worked 2 jobs to give Jessica everything she needed, sometimes 3 jobs during the holidays. I wanted Jessica to have a normal childhood despite losing her mother so young. Every Christmas, I made sure Jessica got whatever she wanted under the tree. Even when money was tight, Jessica never went without anything important. I paid for her private school education, her college tuition, and her wedding. When Jessica graduated from Stanford University, I was the proudest father in California. She got a good job at a tech company and met Brandon at work. Brandon seemed like a decent man when they started dating. Polite, hard-working, and he loved Jessica. When they got engaged, I was happy that Jessica had found someone to share her life with. I paid for their entire wedding, $50,000 for one perfect day. Jessica looked beautiful walking down the aisle. I cried tears of joy watching her get married. After the wedding, Jessica and Brandon moved into a small apartment in downtown San Jose. They were happy, but struggling with rent and student loan payments. That's when I made the biggest decision of my life, a decision I would regret forever. I decided to buy Jessica and Brandon their dream house as a surprise gift. Not just any house. A beautiful 4-bedroom home in the best neighborhood in San Jose. The house cost $2.8 million, more money than most people see in their lifetime. I used my entire retirement savings and took out loans to buy that house. I put the deed in Jessica's name so she would own it completely. Jessica cried with happiness when I surprised her with the house keys. "Dad, I can't believe you did this for us," Jessica said through her tears. "You deserve the best life possible," I told her. "This is my gift to you." Jessica and Brandon moved into their dream house and started building their family. Emma was born 2 years later, followed by Tyler 3 years after that. I was so proud watching my daughter raise her children in the beautiful home I provided. For 5 years, everything seemed perfect. Jessica appeared grateful for everything I had done. I spent every holiday and birthday at their house, celebrating with my family. I helped with babysitting, yard work, and house repairs whenever they needed me. Being a grandfather was the best part of my life. Emma and Tyler brought me so much joy, but last year things started changing between Jessica and me. Jessica began making comments about how I was too involved in their family life. She said I called too often and visited too much. Brandon started agreeing with Jessica that I was becoming intrusive. They wanted more independence and less involvement from me. I tried to give them space, but it was hard. They were my only family. Jessica started excluding me from family decisions and social events. She would make plans with Brandon's family, but not invite me. I felt like I was being pushed out of my daughter's life slowly. The tension came to a head last Christmas Eve when I arrived for our traditional dinner. I brought gifts for Emma and Tyler like I did every year. But something felt different the moment I walked into their house. Jessica seemed cold and distant. Brandon barely acknowledged me when I arrived. Emma and Tyler were excited to see me, but Jessica quickly sent them to their rooms. "We need to talk, Dad," Jessica said in a serious tone. I sat down at their dining room table, the same table I had helped them pick out. Jessica and Brandon sat across from me like I was in a business meeting. "Dad, Brandon and I have been discussing our family situation," Jessica began. "We feel like you're too dependent on us for your social life." I was confused by this statement. "Jessica, you're my daughter. You are my social life." "That's exactly the problem," Brandon interrupted. "You need to find your own friends. We can't be responsible for your happiness anymore," Jessica added. I felt like they were attacking me for loving them too much. I'm sorry if I've been bothering you, I said quietly. I just enjoy spending time with my family. We're not your family, Jessica said coldly. We're adults with our own family now. Those words hit me like a physical blow. Jessica, what are you saying? I'm saying that you need to understand boundaries, Dad. We have our own life here. You're not part of our daily life anymore. I looked around the beautiful house that I had bought for them, the house where I was no longer welcome as family. Jessica, I think you're being unfair, I said, trying to stay calm. Unfair? Jessica laughed bitterly. You want to know what's unfair? Having a father who won't let his adult daughter live independently. Brandon nodded in agreement. Robert, you need to respect our wishes. We want you to visit less often and call less frequently. I couldn't believe what I was hearing from my own daughter. The daughter I had raised alone and sacrificed everything for. Jessica, I bought you this house so we could stay close as a family, I said. And we appreciate that, Jessica replied. But that doesn't mean you own us. You can't use your gifts to control our lives. Those words would haunt me for the rest of my life. Jessica thought I was trying to control her by being a loving father and grandfather. Then Jessica said the words that changed everything between us forever. Dad, you need to understand something clearly. You're not family anymore. You're just someone who helped us in the past. I sat there in complete shock as my daughter disowned me on Christmas Eve, in the house I had bought her. At the table, I had helped her choose. Jessica, I'm your father, I whispered. Being my father doesn't give you the right to intrude on our life. I stood up slowly and walked toward their front door. I understand completely, Jessica, I said with as much dignity as I could manage. I drove home that night feeling more alone than I had since Jessica's mother died. But as I lay in bed, my sadness started turning into something else. Jessica thought she could dismiss me while living in the house I bought her. She was about to learn that gifts come with the expectation of basic respect. Now let me tell you exactly how I built Jessica's perfect life from absolutely nothing. When Jessica's mother died, I was 28 years old, with no idea how to raise a daughter alone. But I was determined to give Jessica everything her mother would have wanted her to have. I worked as a construction supervisor during the day and drove for Uber at night. On weekends, I cleaned office buildings to earn extra money for Jessica's needs. Most nights, I only got 4 hours of sleep between my 3 jobs. But Jessica never knew about my exhaustion because I hid it from her. I wanted her to feel secure and loved despite losing her mother. When Jessica was 9 years old, she wanted to take piano lessons like her friends. Piano lessons cost $80 a month. Money I didn't really have. But I took on extra weekend shifts, cleaning buildings to pay for her music education. Jessica played piano for 6 years and became really good at it. She never knew that I worked extra hours just to pay for her lessons. In middle school, Jessica wanted to attend private school instead of public school. St. Mary's Academy cost $12,000 per year in tuition. I took out a second mortgage on my small house to pay for Jessica's private education. For 6 years, I paid $72,000 total for Jessica's private schooling. I ate ramen noodles and generic cereal so Jessica could have the best education. Jessica made excellent grades and got accepted to several good colleges. She chose Stanford University, one of the most expensive schools in California. Stanford cost $50,000 per year for tuition, room, and board. I worked 4 jobs during Jessica's college years to cover her expenses. Construction work, Uber driving, office cleaning, and weekend landscaping. I was working over 80 hours per week to fund Jessica's education. $200,000 total for Jessica's 4 years at Stanford. Jessica graduated with honors and 0 student loan debt thanks to my sacrifice. Most of her friends graduated owing $50,000 or more. Jessica never had to worry about money because I handled everything. When Jessica got her first job at a tech company, she wanted professional clothes. I spent $3,000 buying Jessica a complete work wardrobe. Designer suits, shoes, handbags, and accessories for her new career. Jessica looked confident and professional thanks to the clothes I bought her. When Jessica started dating Brandon, she wanted to impress him with nice dinners. I gave Jessica my credit card and told her to enjoy herself. Jessica charged over $5,000 on romantic dates with Brandon. I worked overtime to pay off her credit card bills without complaining. When Brandon proposed to Jessica, they wanted the perfect engagement party. I paid $8,000 for a beautiful party at a fancy restaurant. I invited all their friends and family to celebrate their engagement properly. Jessica was so happy that night. Her joy made all my sacrifice worthwhile. Planning Jessica's wedding became my full-time focus for 8 months. Jessica wanted everything to be perfect for her special day. The venue, flowers, photography, catering, music, and decorations had to be the best. I spent $50,000 making Jessica's dream wedding come true. I walked Jessica down the aisle, feeling proud of the woman she had become. After the wedding, Jessica and Brandon struggled in their small apartment. They were paying $3,000 per month rent, plus student loans. Jessica called me crying about money stress several times per week. That's when I decided to buy them a house so they could build their family. I spent months looking for the perfect house. In the best neighborhood, the house on Maple Street was everything Jessica had ever dreamed of. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a beautiful kitchen, and a huge backyard. The house was listed for $2.8 million. I used my entire retirement savings of $400,000 as a down payment. I took out a massive mortgage for the remaining $2.4 million. At age 57, I committed to 30 years of house payments. My monthly mortgage payment was $12,000 for Jessica's house. I would be paying for Jessica's house until I was 87 years old. But I put the deed in Jessica's name so she would own it completely. Jessica cried with happiness when I gave her the house keys. She promised she would never forget my generosity and sacrifice. For the next 5 years, I continued helping Jessica with everything. When Emma was born, I paid for the nursery furniture and baby supplies. When Tyler was born, I bought a new car so Jessica could transport 2 children safely. I paid for family vacations, birthday parties, and holiday celebrations. Jessica's children had everything they wanted because Grandpa Robert provided it. I spent over $20,000 per year on gifts and family expenses. Jessica never had to worry about money because I was always there to help. But somewhere along the way, Jessica started taking my generosity for granted. She stopped thanking me for the house payments I made every month. Jessica acted like the beautiful house was something she had earned herself. She forgot that I was still working overtime to pay her mortgage. Jessica began treating my financial support like it was owed to her, like I was obligated to fund her lifestyle because I was her father. When I tried to spend time with my grandchildren, Jessica complained I was intrusive. When I called to check on them, Jessica said I was being clingy. Jessica wanted all the benefits of my support without the relationship. She wanted my money but not my presence in her life. Jessica acted like I was some annoying stranger who wouldn't leave her alone, not the father who had sacrificed everything to give her the perfect life. I had worked myself to exhaustion for 23 years for Jessica's happiness. I had given up my own dreams so Jessica could achieve hers. I had postponed my own retirement to pay for Jessica's house. And Jessica repaid my love and sacrifice by calling me not family anymore. The daughter I had raised alone thought I was disposable once she had everything she wanted. Jessica was about to learn that everything she thought she owned actually belonged to me. That Christmas Eve dinner will be burned into my memory forever. Every detail, every word, every painful moment. I had arrived at Jessica's house at 5 o'clock with presents for Emma and Tyler, the same routine we had followed for 5 years since they moved into the house. But from the moment I walked through their front door, something felt wrong. Jessica barely hugged me when I arrived. Brandon didn't even get up from the couch. Emma and Tyler ran to greet me like they always did, but Jessica quickly sent them upstairs. Grandpa Robert brought you presents, but you can open them later, Jessica told the kids. I sat down at their dining room table feeling confused and unwelcome. The table I had helped Jessica pick out when they first moved in. Jessica had made dinner, but it was just basic food, not the special Christmas meal we usually shared. She served reheated lasagna and store-bought bread, no effort put into the holiday. During dinner, Jessica and Brandon talked to each other but ignored me completely. They discussed work projects and weekend plans like I wasn't sitting right there. Jessica, how was Tyler's school play last week? I asked, trying to join the conversation. Fine, Jessica replied without looking at me. Did he remember his lines? He was so excited when I talked to him. Brandon looked annoyed. Robert, Tyler did great. You don't need all the details. I felt like I was bothering them by asking about my own grandchildren. After dinner, I helped clear the dishes like I always did. But Jessica told me to sit down and stay out of the kitchen. Dad, we need to have a serious conversation. Jessica said when she returned. Brandon sat next to Jessica, and they both stared at me from across the table. "What's wrong?" I asked, feeling my stomach tighten with worry. "Dad, Brandon and I have been talking about our family situation. We feel like you're becoming too involved in our daily lives." I was confused by this accusation. "How am I too involved? You call us 3 times a week," Jessica said. "You visit every weekend. You ask about every detail of our lives and the children's activities." Brandon nodded in agreement. "We need more space and independence, Robert." "But, Jessica, you're my daughter," I said. "I love spending time with my family." "That's the problem," Jessica replied coldly. "You act like we're your entire social life. You need to make friends your own age and find your own activities." I felt like Jessica was punishing me for loving her and my grandchildren. "I have friends," I said defensively. "But you're my family. You're important to me." "Too important," Brandon interrupted. "You're suffocating us with attention." Jessica leaned forward with a serious expression. "Dad, we're adults with our own family now. We don't need you checking on us constantly like we're children." "I'm not treating you like children," I protested. "I'm being a caring father and grandfather." "No, you're being clingy and dependent," Jessica shot back. Those words stung more than I expected. "Jessica, that's not fair. Is it fair that we can't make plans without you wanting to be included? Is it fair that you get upset when we don't call you back immediately?" I realized Jessica was building a case against me being part of their lives. "Jessica, I never demanded to be included in everything," I said quietly. "You don't have to demand it," Brandon said. "You just expect it. You act like you have a right to be involved in all our decisions. Because you bought us this house," Jessica added sarcastically. My heart sank. Jessica was using my generosity against me. "I bought you this house because I love you," I said, fighting back tears. "And we appreciate that," Jessica replied. "But that doesn't give you ownership over our lives." "Ownership?" I repeated, shocked by her words. "Yes, Dad. You act like your gifts come with strings attached. Like we owe you constant access and attention because of what you've given us." I couldn't believe my daughter was accusing me of trying to control. To her, "Jessica, I never expected anything from you except love and respect." "Well, you're not getting the kind of relationship you want," Jessica said firmly. "We want you to visit once a month instead of every week, and call once a week instead of 3 times. Brandon added, "We need you to respect our boundaries and give us space." I felt like they were breaking up with me, like I was some unwanted boyfriend. "What if there's an emergency?" I asked. "What if the kids need something?" "We'll handle emergencies ourselves," Jessica said. "We're capable adults. The kids have everything they need. You don't have to provide for them anymore." That's when Jessica said the words that shattered my heart completely. "Dad, you need to understand something very clearly." Jessica looked me directly in the eyes with no emotion on her face. "You're not family anymore. Not in the way you think you are." The room went completely silent. I couldn't believe what I had just heard. "What did you say?" I whispered. "You heard me. You're not family anymore. You're someone who helped us in the past. And we're grateful. But that doesn't make you a permanent part of our daily lives." Brandon nodded in agreement. "We have our own family unit now, Robert. You raised Jessica and you did a good job. But that job is finished." I sat there in complete shock as my daughter and son-in-law erased me from their lives. "Jessica, I'm your father," I said, barely able to speak. "Being my father doesn't give you unlimited access to our family. We're setting boundaries, and you need to respect them. If you can't respect our boundaries, then we'll have to limit contact even more." I looked around the beautiful house that I was still paying for every month, the house where I was no longer welcome as family. Emma and Tyler's voices echoed from upstairs, my grandchildren who were being taken from me. I stood up slowly, feeling older than my 62 years. "I understand completely, Jessica," I said with what little dignity I had left. "You've made your feelings very clear." I walked to their front door without saying goodbye to Emma and Tyler. Jessica didn't try to stop me or soften her cruel words. I drove home through Christmas Eve traffic with tears streaming down my face. When I got to my small house, I sat in my car for an hour processing what had happened. My daughter had disowned me on Christmas Eve in the house I bought her. But as I sat there, my heartbreak started turning into something else. Jessica thought she could dismiss me while living in my house and benefiting from my sacrifice. She was about to learn that being ungrateful has serious consequences. I spent Christmas night completely alone in my small house, staring at documents that would change everything. After leaving Jessica's house, I couldn't sleep or eat or even turn on the television. I kept replaying Jessica's words over and over in my mind. "You're not family anymore. You're someone who helped us in the past." Those words cut deeper than any physical pain I had ever experienced. I walked to my home office and pulled out my filing cabinet. Inside were all the financial records related to Jessica's house and my other gifts to her. I needed to see the exact numbers of everything I had sacrificed for my ungrateful daughter. The first document I found was the deed to Jessica's house on Maple Street. Even though Jessica lived there, the original deed was in my name as the purchaser. I had transferred ownership to Jessica through a gift deed 5 years ago, but I kept copies of all the original paperwork in my files. Purchase price: $2,800,000. Down payment from my retirement savings: $400,000. Monthly mortgage payments for 5 years, $12,000 per month. I calculated the total amount on my calculator: $720,000 in payments. Plus the original down payment, I had invested $1,120,000 in Jessica's house. $1,120,000 for a daughter who called me not family anymore. I pulled out more files containing records of Jessica's education expenses. St. Mary's Academy tuition for 6 years, $72,000. Stanford University for 4 years, $200,000. Total education costs, $272,000. All paid by me so Jessica could have the best opportunities in life. Next, I found receipts for Jessica's wedding expenses: venue, catering, flowers, photography, music, and decorations, $50,000. Jessica's wedding dress and accessories, $8,000. Honeymoon trip to Europe, $12,000. Wedding total, $70,000 for one perfect day. I kept digging through my files, finding more evidence of my generosity. Jessica's car when she graduated college, $35,000. Professional wardrobe for her first job, $3,000. Engagement party, $8,000. Baby furniture and supplies for Emma and Tyler, $15,000. Family vacations I had paid for, $25,000. Birthday parties and Christmas gifts over the years, $30,000. Emergency expenses I had covered, $12,000. When I finished adding everything up, the total was shocking: $1,570,000, $1.5 million I had spent on Jessica over the years. That was more money than most people earn in their entire careers, all given freely out of love for a daughter who threw me away like garbage. I sat in my office chair staring at these numbers until 3 in the morning. Jessica had received $1.5 million from me and still called me not family. She was living in a house worth $2.8 million that I was still paying for. And Jessica had the nerve to tell me I was too involved in her life. The same life I had funded completely for 23 years. I thought about all the sacrifices I had made for Jessica's happiness. Working 3 jobs so she could take piano lessons, eating ramen noodles so she could attend private school, taking out loans for her Stanford education, working 80 hours a week to pay her college expenses, postponing my own retirement to buy her dream house. 23 years of putting Jessica's needs before my own, and Jessica repaid my love and sacrifice by disowning me on Christmas Eve. I pulled out my laptop and started researching gift tax laws and property transfers. I wanted to understand my legal options regarding the house and other assets. What I discovered made me very interested in taking action. According to California law, gift deeds can be revoked under certain circumstances: if the recipient shows ingratitude or fails to meet implied conditions. I had given Jessica the house with the implied condition that we would remain family. Jessica had explicitly stated that I was not family anymore. This could be grounds for revoking the gift deed and reclaiming the property. I also researched laws about ongoing financial support and expectations. If I was still making mortgage payments on Jessica's house, I might have legal standing. The house wasn't truly Jessica's until the mortgage was completely paid off. Since I was the one making payments, I could potentially stop payments and reclaim the property. I spent hours reading legal websites and property law information. By 5 in the morning, I had a clear understanding of my options. Jessica thought she could dismiss me while keeping everything I had given her. But legally, I might have the power to take it all back. I also thought about the emotional impact of losing her father's support. Jessica assumed I would continue paying her mortgage no matter how she treated me. She thought my love meant I would accept any kind of disrespect. Jessica was about to learn that even parental love has limits. As the sun came up on Christmas morning, I made a decision that would change both our lives. I was going to reclaim everything I had given Jessica, not out of anger or revenge, but out of self-respect and justice. Jessica had made it clear that she didn't value our family relationship, so why should I continue funding her lifestyle while being excluded from her life? If I wasn't family, then I wasn't responsible for her house payments either. I could use that money to build a new life for myself, a life where I was appreciated and respected instead of taken for granted. At 8 o'clock Christmas morning, I called my attorney, Patricia Williams. I left a voicemail asking for an emergency meeting about property law. I explained that I needed legal advice about revoking a gift deed due to ingratitude. Patricia called me back 2 hours later, even though it was Christmas Day. "Robert, this sounds serious," Patricia said. "Can you come in tomorrow morning?" "I'll be there," I replied. "And, Patricia, I want to explore all my legal options, including reclaiming a $2.8 million house." I hung up the phone feeling empowered for the first time in months. Jessica thought she had won by setting boundaries and pushing me away. Instead, she had just given me the motivation to take back control of my life. The daughter who called me not family anymore was about to lose everything I had given her, and she would have no one to blame but herself. The morning after Christmas, I met with my attorney, Patricia Williams, at 9 o'clock sharp. Patricia had been my lawyer for 15 years and knew my family situation well. She had handled the original gift deed when I transferred the house to Jessica. "Robert, you sounded very upset in your voicemail," Patricia said as I sat down. "Tell me exactly what happened on Christmas Eve." I explained the entire dinner conversation to Patricia, word for word. How Jessica had told me I was too involved in their lives. How she said I wasn't family anymore and was just someone who helped in the past. Patricia took detailed notes while I spoke. "Robert, based on what you've told me, you may have legal grounds to revoke the gift," she said. "California law allows gift revocation in cases of extreme ingratitude. When a recipient completely rejects the relationship with the giver, courts have sided with donors." This was exactly what I wanted to hear. "Patricia, what would it take to get my house back?" "We would need to prove that Jessica's actions constitute legal ingratitude. Telling you that you're not family anymore after receiving $1 million gift qualifies. We'd also need to show that the gift was conditional on maintaining a family relationship." I pulled out all my financial records and showed them to Patricia. The house deed, mortgage documents, and payment records. Receipts for Jessica's education, wedding, and other major expenses. Bank statements showing 23 years of financial support. Patricia reviewed everything carefully and made copies for her files. "Robert, you have incredibly detailed documentation," she said with approval. "This shows a clear pattern of generosity based on family relationship." When Jessica explicitly ended that relationship, she violated the implied conditions. I asked Patricia about the timeline for reclaiming the house. "We can file paperwork immediately to begin the revocation process. Given the strength of your case, I estimate 30 to 60 days for completion. Jessica would be legally required to transfer the deed back to your name." Patricia also explained that I could stop making mortgage payments immediately. "Since you're the one making payments, you can cease them at any time. The bank would begin foreclosure proceedings against Jessica within 90 days. This gave me significant leverage in dealing with my ungrateful daughter." "Patricia, what about the other gifts I've given Jessica over the years? Cars, furniture, and cash gifts are harder to reclaim after they've been used. But you could stop all ongoing financial support immediately. Any credit cards, insurance payments, or regular contributions can be canceled." I asked Patricia to prepare legal documents for everything we had discussed. Paperwork to revoke the house gift deed due to ingratitude. Letters to stop all ongoing financial support and payments. Notices to cancel Jessica's access to any accounts or credit cards. "Robert, Are you sure you want to take such drastic action? Patricia asked. This will completely destroy your relationship with Jessica and your grandchildren. Patricia, Jessica already destroyed our relationship, I replied. She told me I'm not family anymore. I'm just taking her at her word. After leaving Patricia's office, I went home and made detailed plans. I wanted to systematically remove every benefit Jessica received from me. First, I would stop the monthly $12,000 mortgage payments on her house. Jessica would get a shock when the bank contacted her about missed payments. Second, I would cancel the car insurance I paid for Jessica's vehicle. The insurance would lapse within 30 days, making her driving illegal. Third, I would close the credit card account I had given Jessica for emergencies. She had a $5,000 limit that she used for various expenses. Fourth, I would stop contributing to Emma and Tyler's college savings accounts. I had been depositing $500 monthly for each grandchild's education. Fifth, I would revoke Jessica's access to my Costco membership and other shared accounts. Small things that Jessica took for granted would disappear. I also decided to cancel upcoming financial commitments I had made. Emma's summer camp that I had agreed to pay for, $3,000. Tyler's baseball league registration and equipment, $800. Family vacation to Disneyland that I was funding, $6,000. All of these payments would be stopped immediately. I spent the afternoon calling financial institutions and service providers. I need to remove Jessica Martinez Walsh from my auto insurance policy. I want to cancel credit card account ending in 4789. Please stop all automatic deposits to college savings accounts for Emma and Tyler Walsh. Each phone call felt empowering. I was taking back control of my financial life. Patricia called me that evening with an update on the legal paperwork. Robert, I've prepared all the documents we discussed. The gift deed revocation will be filed tomorrow morning. Jessica will be served with papers by the end of the week. I asked Patricia to also prepare a comprehensive letter explaining my actions. I wanted Jessica to understand exactly why I was reclaiming everything. The letter should state that since she declared I'm not family, I'm ending all family support. She can't have the benefits of being my daughter without the relationship. Patricia agreed to draft a formal letter outlining my position. That night, I made a list of everything Jessica would lose. The $2.8 million house she thought she owned, $12,000 per month in mortgage payments I had been making, car insurance worth $200 monthly, credit card access worth $5,000 in emergency funds, college savings contributions of $1,000 monthly for both children, various membership benefits and shared accounts worth hundreds monthly. Jessica was about to lose approximately $15,000 per month in support, $180,000 per year in benefits she had taken for granted. Over the next 5 to 10 years, Jessica would lose over $1 million in ongoing support, all because she thought she could dismiss me while keeping my money. I went to bed that night feeling more empowered than I had in years. For the first time since Christmas Eve, I wasn't sad or hurt. I was determined and focused on justice. Jessica wanted independence from her father. She was about to get exactly that. Complete independence from all the financial support I had provided. Tomorrow, Jessica's comfortable life would start falling apart, and she would have no one to blame except herself. 3 days after filing the legal paperwork, Jessica got her first taste of what independence really meant. I was having coffee in my kitchen when my phone rang at 8:30 in the morning. It was Jessica calling, and I could hear panic in her voice immediately. "Dad, something's wrong with our mortgage," Jessica said frantically. "The bank called saying our payment is 30 days overdue. But you always handle the mortgage payments. What happened?" I took a sip of my coffee before responding calmly. "Jessica, I stopped making your mortgage payments on December 26th. There was complete silence on the other end of the phone. "What do you mean you stopped making payments?" Jessica asked in disbelief. "I mean exactly what I said. I'm no longer paying your mortgage." "Dad, you can't just stop paying our mortgage." "Actually, I can," I replied. "It's my money, and I decide how to spend it." Jessica was starting to hyperventilate. "But Dad, we'll lose the house." "That's not my problem anymore, Jessica. You said I'm not family. If I'm not family, then I'm not responsible for your housing costs." I hung up before Jessica could respond and turned off my phone. 20 minutes later, someone was pounding on my front door. I looked through the window and saw Jessica standing on my porch, looking frantic. Her hair was messy and she was still wearing pajamas and slippers. I opened the door and greeted her calmly. "Hello, Jessica." "Dad, we need to talk right now," Jessica said, pushing past me into my house. "What is this about stopping the mortgage payments?" "I told you already. I'm no longer funding your lifestyle." Jessica started pacing around my living room like a caged animal. "Dad, you can't do this to us. We have children living in that house. Emma and Tyler are your children, not mine. You made that very clear. You said I'm not family anymore, so they're not my grandchildren." Jessica's face went white as she realized the implications of her Christmas Eve words. "Dad, I didn't mean it like that when I said you're not family." "How did you mean it, Jessica?" I asked, sitting down in my favorite chair. "I meant that you needed to give us more space as adults." "No, you meant exactly what you said. I'm not family anymore." Jessica sat down on my couch and put her head in her hands. "Dad, if you don't make the mortgage payment, the bank will foreclose on our house. We'll be homeless with 2 young children. Then, you better figure out how to make a $12,000 payment," I replied. Jessica looked up at me in shock. $12,000? The mortgage is $12,000 per month? You've been living in that house for 5 years and never knew the mortgage amount? I thought it was maybe $3,000 or $4,000. I laughed softly. "Jessica, your house is worth $2.8 million. Did you think the mortgage would be $3,000 per month?" Jessica was doing math on her phone with shaking hands. "Dad, Brandon, and I only make about $8,000 per month combined after taxes. We can't afford a $12,000 mortgage payment." "I know," I said simply. "That's why I've been paying it for 5 years, while you took my generosity completely for granted." Jessica started crying as the reality of her situation hit her. "Dad, what do you want us to do?" "I want you to be the independent adults you claimed you wanted to be. Figure out your housing situation like everyone else has to do." Jessica wiped her eyes and tried a different approach. "Dad, can we work out some kind of payment plan? Maybe we can pay you back over time." "Jessica, you don't have anything to pay me back with. You just admitted you only make $8,000 per month together. How would you pay me back $12,000 per month plus everything else I've given you?" Jessica was quiet for a moment as she processed this reality. "Dad, there has to be some solution here." "There is a solution," I replied. "Accept the consequences of your choices. You wanted me out of your life. Now you get what you asked for." My phone started buzzing with text messages. I ignored them. "Dad, Brandon is texting you. Please answer him." "I have nothing to say to Brandon. This is between you and me." Jessica grabbed my phone and read Brandon's messages out loud. "Robert, please call us immediately. We need to discuss the mortgage situation. Robert, we're willing to compromise on the visitation schedule. Robert, Jessica is very upset. Can we meet today to work this out?" I took my phone back and put it in my pocket. "Brandon thinks this is about a visitation schedule?" I asked. "This isn't about seeing you more often, Jessica. This is about being treated with basic respect and appreciation." Jessica started begging desperately. "Dad, please don't do this to Emma and Tyler. They're innocent children who don't deserve to lose their home." "You're right. They are innocent," I agreed. "Which is why you should have thought about them before you disowned their grandfather." Jessica was crying harder now. "Dad, I'll do anything to fix this. What do you want from us?" I stood up and walked to my kitchen window. "Jessica, 3 days ago you told me I wasn't family anymore. You said I was just someone who helped you in the past. Today you're calling me Dad and begging for help. Which version is the truth?" Jessica followed me to the kitchen. "Dad, you are my family. I was wrong to say that." "Were you wrong, or are you just scared about losing your house?" Jessica couldn't answer that question honestly. "Dad, please tell me what I need to do to fix our relationship." I turned to face my daughter. "Jessica, the damage is already done. You can't unsay words like, 'You're not family anymore.' Those words revealed how you really feel about me." Jessica's phone started ringing. She answered it frantically. "Brandon, Dad stopped paying our mortgage. Yes, $12,000 per month. I don't know what we're going to do." While Jessica talked to her husband, I walked back to my living room. I could hear Jessica explaining our conversation to Brandon. "He says we need to be independent adults. No, he won't make the payment. Yes, we could lose the house. When Jessica hung up, she looked defeated. Dad, Brandon is calling a real estate agent to see what our options are. Smart thinking, I replied. You'll need to sell the house quickly, unless you can somehow afford $12,000 per month. Jessica sat down heavily on my couch. Dad, this is going to destroy our children's lives. No, Jessica. Your choices are going to impact your children's lives. I'm just removing my financial support like you wanted. For the first time, Jessica seemed to understand that her actions had consequences, real consequences that would change her family's entire future. But it was too late for apologies or negotiations. Jessica had shown me her true feelings, and now she would live with the results. After Jessica left my house in a panic, I spent the rest of that day organizing every financial record I had kept. I wanted complete documentation of every dollar I had spent on Jessica over 23 years, not just for my attorney, but so Jessica could see exactly what she was throwing away. I started with Jessica's childhood expenses when her mother died. I had kept every receipt in organized file folders by year. Even back then, I knew I wanted to track how much I was sacrificing for Jessica's future. I pulled out the folder labeled Jessica age 812 and started making calculations. Piano lessons for 6 years, $4,800 total. Private tutoring in math and science, $3,200. Summer camps and activities, $6,500. School supplies, clothes, and necessities, $8,000 per year for 5 years. Just Jessica's elementary school years cost me over $46,000. That was on top of basic housing, food, and medical expenses every parent pays. Next, I opened the folder for Jessica's middle school and high school years. St. Mary's Academy tuition, $12,000 per year for 6 years. $72,000 so Jessica could get the best private education, school uniforms, books, and supplies, $1,500 per year for 6 years. Field trips and school activities, $800 per year for 6 years. High school graduation party, $4,000. Senior year expenses, including prom and class ring, $3,000. Jessica's teenage years cost me an additional $91,000. I moved on to the college folder, which was the biggest expense of all. Stanford University tuition, room, and board, $50,000 per year for 4 years. $200,000 for Jessica's bachelor's degree. Textbooks, supplies, and living expenses, $3,000 per year for 4 years. Spring break trips and summer programs, $16,000 total. Laptop computers and technology, $8,000 over 4 years. College graduation celebration, $5,000. Jessica's college education cost me $241,000 total. After college came Jessica's transition to adult life expenses. Professional wardrobe for her first job, $3,000. Security deposit and first month's rent for her apartment, $4,000. Furniture and household items for her first place, $8,000. Car down payment and insurance, $38,000. Emergency expenses and loans, $12,000. Jessica's early adult years cost me an additional $65,000. Then came the biggest expenses when Jessica got engaged to Brandon. Engagement party at the restaurant, $8,000. Wedding venue, catering, and reception, $35,000. Photography, flowers, and music, $12,000. Jessica's wedding dress and accessories, $8,000. Honeymoon trip to Europe for 2 weeks, $12,000. Wedding-related expenses totaled $75,000. After the wedding, I continued supporting Jessica and Brandon's lifestyle. Baby shower and nursery furniture when Emma was born, $6,000. Hospital bills and medical expenses, $4,000. Baby supplies, clothes, and equipment, $8,000. Second baby shower for Tyler, $4,000. More medical bills and baby supplies, $7,000. Emma and Tyler's first 5 years cost me $29,000. I also tracked all the ongoing monthly expenses I had covered. Jessica's house mortgage, $12,000 per month for 60 months. That was $720,000 in mortgage payments alone. Car insurance for Jessica's vehicle, $200 per month for 60 months, $12,000 in car insurance over 5 years, credit card payments and emergency loans, average of $500 per month, $30,000 in various financial assistance, monthly college savings for Emma and Tyler, $1,000 per month for 36 months, $36,000 saved for my grandchildren's education, family vacations I had funded, $25,000 total, birthday parties and Christmas gifts, approximately $3,000 per year, $15,000 in holiday and celebration expenses. When I finished calculating everything, the total amount was staggering, $1,437,000. Jessica had received almost $1.5 million from me over her lifetime. That was more money than most families earn in 20 years of combined income. I had worked myself to exhaustion to provide this level of financial support. Multiple jobs, overtime hours, weekend work, and no vacations for myself. Also, Jessica could have every opportunity and advantage in life. And Jessica repaid this incredible generosity by calling me not family anymore. I made copies of every receipt, bank statement, and payment record. I organized everything into clear folders with detailed summaries for each category. Education expenses, $313,000. Housing and living expenses, $800,000. Wedding and celebration costs, $75,000. Children and family expenses, $54,000. Emergency and miscellaneous support, $95,000. My attorney Patricia would have complete documentation of Jessica's ingratitude. Any judge who saw these records would understand the magnitude of Jessica's betrayal. I also prepared a detailed timeline showing Jessica's increasing entitlement over the years, how she went from being grateful to taking my support for granted, how she started making demands instead of requests for financial help, how she excluded me from family decisions while expecting me to fund everything. The timeline showed a clear pattern of Jessica using me without appreciation. I spent hours organizing everything into a professional presentation, charts showing annual expenses and total investments over time, comparisons between what I had given Jessica versus average parental support, evidence that my generosity far exceeded any normal family obligation. By the end of the day, I had built an airtight legal case. No reasonable person could look at this evidence and side with Jessica. She had received almost $1.5 million from a loving father. Then she threw that father away when he asked for basic respect and family time. I called Patricia Williams and scheduled a meeting for the next morning. I have all the documentation you requested, I told her. Every dollar Jessica received from me over 23 years. Patricia, when you see these numbers, you'll understand why I'm taking action. That evening, I reviewed everything one more time. $1,437,000 given freely out of love. Love that Jessica had rejected completely on Christmas Eve. Tomorrow, Patricia would file additional paperwork showing the full scope of Jessica's ingratitude. Jessica thought she could keep my money while discarding me as family. She was about to discover that generosity and respect go hand in hand. 1 week after Jessica's panicked visit to my house, we all met at Patricia Williams' law office. Jessica had hired her own attorney, a young man named David Chen who looked nervous. Brandon sat next to Jessica, looking angry and frustrated about the whole situation. I sat across from them with Patricia, feeling calm and prepared for this confrontation. Let's begin by reviewing the facts of this case, Patricia said professionally. She opened a thick folder containing all my financial documentation. Mr. Martinez has provided extensive records of his financial support for Jessica over 23 years. Patricia handed David Chen a copy of my complete expense summary. The total amount of gifts and support comes to $1,437,000. David Chen's eyes widened as he read through the numbers. Jessica grabbed the paper from her lawyer and studied it frantically. "Dad, these numbers can't be right," Jessica said in disbelief. "Every receipt is documented and verified," Patricia replied calmly. "Your father kept meticulous records of every expense." Brandon was reading over Jessica's shoulder with his mouth hanging open. $1.4 million? Brandon whispered. "That's impossible." Patricia opened another folder and spread documents across the conference table. "Let's start with the house on Maple Street," she said. "Purchase price of $2.8 million paid entirely by Mr. Martinez." She showed them the original purchase agreement with my name as the buyer. "Down payment of $400,000 from Mr. Martinez's retirement savings. Monthly mortgage payments of $12,000 made by Mr. 12 Martinez for 60 months. Total investment in the house, $1,120,000. David Chen was taking notes rapidly as Patricia continued. The gift deed transferring ownership to Jessica was conditional on maintaining family relationship. When Jessica explicitly stated, "You're not family anymore," she violated that condition. Under California law, this constitutes legal grounds for gift revocation due to ingratitude. Jessica was shaking her head in denial. "Dad, you gave me that house freely." "I gave it to you as my daughter," I replied. "You said you're not my daughter anymore." Patricia pulled out more documents. Let's review Jessica's education expenses. St. Mary's Academy tuition, $72,000. Stanford University, $200,000. Books, supplies, and living expenses, $41,000. Total education investment, $313,000. David Chen was furiously calculating numbers on his phone. Next, we have wedding and celebration expenses, Patricia continued. Wedding ceremony and reception, $50,000. Engagement party, $8,000. Honeymoon, $12,000. Various celebrations and parties, $15,000. Wedding-related total, $85,000. Brandon looked sick as he realized the scope of my generosity. "Patricia, what about ongoing monthly support?" I asked. "Car insurance payments, $12,000 over 5 years. Credit card access and emergency funds, $30,000. College savings for Emma and Tyler, $36,000. Miscellaneous monthly support, $50,000. Ongoing support total, $128,000. Jessica was crying quietly as Patricia presented each category. The grand total of Mr. Martinez's investment in Jessica's life is $1,437,000. David Chen looked overwhelmed by the documentation. "Miss Walsh, were you aware of the extent of your father's financial support?" he asked. "I knew Dad helped us, but I had no idea it was this much money," Jessica admitted. "Did you know your father was making $12,000 monthly mortgage payments?" "No," Jessica whispered. "I thought the mortgage was much less." Patricia addressed David Chen directly. "Counselor, does your client have any legal claim to property she didn't purchase?" "Well, the gift deed," David began weakly. "The gift deed was conditional on family relationship," Patricia interrupted. "Your client explicitly ended that relationship on December 24th. She told Mr. Martinez he was not family anymore. Those words constitute legal ingratitude and grounds for gift revocation." David Chen was flipping through law books trying to find a counter-argument. "What about the children's interests in the property?" he asked. "Emma and Tyler have no legal interest in property owned by their grandfather," Patricia replied. "Mr. Martinez has no legal obligation to house his daughter's children after being disowned." Jessica spoke up desperately. "Dad, what do you want from us?" "I want you to understand the consequences of your choices," I replied. Patricia pulled out the final set of documents. "Mr. Martinez is revoking all gifts and ending all financial support, effective immediately. The house deed will be transferred back to Mr. Martinez within 30 days. All mortgage payments, insurance, and ongoing support will cease. Jessica will need to vacate the property or begin paying fair market rent." David Chen tried one last argument. "This seems like an extreme response to a family argument." Patricia looked at him sternly. "Counselor, your client received nearly $1.5 million in gifts. Then she told the donor he was not family anymore. If that's not extreme ingratitude, what would qualify?" Brandon finally spoke up. "Robert, surely we can work out some kind of compromise." "What kind of compromise?" I asked. "Maybe we could pay you back over time?" Brandon suggested. "With what money?" Patricia asked. "You make $8,000 per month combined. The mortgage alone is $12,000 per month. You don't have the income to support the lifestyle Mr. Martinez provided." Jessica was sobbing now. "Dad, please don't take our house away." "Jessica, it was never your house," I replied calmly. "It was my house that I let you live in for free. When you said I wasn't family, you gave up the right to live there. David Chen was studying the legal documents with a defeated expression. Miss Walsh, based on the evidence presented, your father has strong legal grounds for his actions. The documentation clearly shows a pattern of extraordinary generosity, followed by explicit rejection. I don't see a viable legal challenge to the gift revocation. Patricia gathered all the documents into organized folders. Mr. Chen, you have 30 days to arrange for property transfer. After that, Mr. Martinez will begin eviction proceedings if necessary. Jessica looked at me with desperate eyes. Dad, this will destroy our family. Jessica, you already destroyed our family on Christmas Eve. I'm just accepting your decision and acting accordingly. We left the law office with everything settled legally. Jessica and Brandon walked to their car in stunned silence. They finally understood that I owned everything they thought belonged to them. The house, the financial support, even their comfortable lifestyle. All of it depended on my generosity, which Jessica had thrown away. Patricia walked me to my car with a satisfied expression. Robert, I've never seen such clear-cut documentation of ingratitude. Jessica will have no choice but to accept your terms. She has no legal standing to fight the gift revocation. I drove home. Feeling vindicated and empowered, Jessica had learned who really owned everything in her life. And tomorrow, she will start facing the reality of true independence. 2 days after the legal meeting, Jessica started calling me every hour begging for forgiveness. I let all her calls go to voicemail and listened to her desperate messages. Dad, please call me back. I need to apologize for everything I said. Dad, I was wrong about the family thing. Please give me a chance to explain. Dad, the kids are asking why Grandpa won't talk to them anymore. Each message sounded more panicked than the last one. On the third day, Jessica showed up at my house with Emma and Tyler. She was using my grandchildren as emotional weapons to manipulate me. I opened the door and saw Emma and Tyler holding handmade apology cards. Grandpa Robert, we're sorry, Emma said with tears in her eyes. Please don't be mad at Mommy anymore. Tyler handed me his crayon drawing of our family with a big heart around it. Jessica stood behind them with red, swollen eyes from crying. Dad, please let us come in so we can talk, Jessica pleaded. I knelt down to Emma and Tyler's level and spoke gently. I'm not mad at you two. You didn't do anything wrong. But Grandpa needs to have an adult conversation with your mommy. I looked at Jessica firmly. Take the children home. Come back alone if you want to talk. Jessica's face crumpled, but she took Emma and Tyler back to their car. An hour later, Jessica returned by herself and knocked on my door. This time I let her come inside and sit in my living room. Jessica looked terrible. Her hair was unwashed and she was wearing the same clothes as yesterday. Dad, I haven't slept in 3 days, Jessica said. I keep thinking about what I said to you. And what conclusion did you reach? I asked calmly. I was completely wrong. You are my family. You're the most important person in my life. Really? I replied. Because 3 weeks ago you said the exact opposite. Jessica started crying again. Dad, I was stressed and overwhelmed with Brandon's complaints. Brandon kept saying you were too involved in our lives. He convinced me that setting boundaries with you was healthy for our marriage. I wasn't surprised that Brandon was behind Jessica's cruel words. So you let your husband convince you to disown your father? I didn't mean to disown you, Jessica protested. I just wanted some space. Jessica, you said I wasn't family anymore. Those weren't words about space. Those were words designed to hurt me as deeply as possible. Jessica put her head in her hands. Dad, I know I hurt you terribly. I've been sick to my stomach ever since Christmas Eve. I keep replaying that conversation and hating myself for what I said. But being sorry doesn't change what you revealed about your true feelings, I replied. Jessica looked up at me desperately. Dad, what can I do to fix this? I'll do anything. I'll sign any agreement. I'll follow any rules you set. I studied my daughter's face to see if her remorse was genuine. Jessica, are you sorry for what you said, or are you sorry about losing the house? Both, she admitted honestly. But mostly I'm sorry for hurting you. When I saw those financial records at the lawyer's office, I realized what you sacrificed for me. $1.4 million over 23 years. Dad, I never understood the magnitude of your love and generosity. This was the first time Jessica had acknowledged the scope of my sacrifice. Jessica, why didn't you know how much the mortgage payment was? Because I took your support for granted. she said quietly. I assumed you would always take care of everything without me having to think about it. I treated your generosity like it was owed to me instead of a gift. Jessica was finally starting to understand her mistakes. Dad, losing the house would be devastating, but losing you would be worse. Emma and Tyler ask about you every day. They love their grandpa Robert. And I love you too, even though I said those horrible things. I walked to my kitchen and poured 2 glasses of water. I needed time to think about whether Jessica's apology was sincere. Jessica, if I gave you another chance, how would things be different? I would never take your generosity for granted again, she said immediately. I would include you in family decisions and value your opinions. And I would make sure Brandon treats you with respect and appreciation. What about boundaries and independence? I asked. We can have healthy boundaries without me being cruel to you. I want you involved in our lives, Dad. You're Emma and Tyler's grandfather. You should be part of family celebrations and important decisions. I sat back down across from Jessica. Jessica, the damage you did to our relationship was severe. It's going to take time to rebuild trust between us. I understand, Jessica said quickly. I'll be patient and prove myself to you. I had been considering my terms for days in case this conversation happened. Jessica, if I restore your house and financial support, there will be conditions. Anything, she agreed immediately. First, you and Brandon will attend family counseling with me for 6 months. We need to learn how to communicate better and establish healthy boundaries. Second, you will write me a formal letter acknowledging everything I've done for you. I want you to understand the full scope of my sacrifice and generosity. Third, Brandon will apologize to me directly for his role in this situation. Fourth, you will contribute $1,000 per month toward your mortgage. I want you to have some financial responsibility for your lifestyle. And fifth, if you ever speak to me disrespectfully again, everything ends permanently. Jessica nodded eagerly to each condition. Yes, I accept all of those terms. Dad, I'll sign any legal document you want. I looked at my daughter, who was begging for a second chance. Part of me wanted to forgive her immediately and restore our relationship, but a bigger part of me knew that easy forgiveness wouldn't teach Jessica anything. Jessica, I need 24 hours to decide whether to accept your apology. This is the biggest decision I'll make about our family's future. Jessica's face fell, but she nodded in understanding. Dad, I'll respect whatever you decide. But please know that I truly love you, and I'm sorry for everything I said. Jessica left my house not knowing if she would get her life back. I spent that evening thinking about forgiveness, consequences, and family relationships. By morning, I had made my final decision about Jessica's future. The next morning, I called Jessica at exactly 9 o'clock and told her my decision. Jessica, I've decided to give you one final chance to rebuild our relationship. But understand this clearly, there will be no third chances. Jessica started crying with relief. Dad, thank you so much. I promise I won't let you down. We'll see, I replied. Actions matter more than promises. That was 8 months ago. Let me tell you exactly what has happened since then. Jessica and Brandon followed through on every single condition I set. They attended family counseling sessions twice per month for 6 months. The counselor helped us establish healthy boundaries while maintaining close family relationships. Brandon learned to respect my role as Jessica's father and the children's grandfather. Jessica wrote me a 5-page letter acknowledging everything I had done for her over the years. She detailed each major expense and sacrifice I had made for her. Happiness. The letter showed genuine understanding of my generosity and her previous ingratitude. Brandon also apologized to me personally for his role in the Christmas Eve disaster. He admitted that he had influenced Jessica to push me away from their family. Brandon now includes me in family decisions and treats me with respect. Jessica has been paying $1,000 per month toward her mortgage. She got a part-time evening job to earn the extra money without affecting her day job. This financial contribution has helped Jessica appreciate the true cost of her lifestyle. Our family relationship has been completely transformed by these changes. Jessica calls me twice a week to check on me and share family news. She asks for my advice on important decisions and actually listens to my input. I spend time with Emma and Tyler every weekend like I did before. But now Jessica appreciates my involvement instead of complaining about it. The children are thriving with their grandfather back in their lives regularly. Emma is 8 years old now and learning to play piano like her mother did. Tyler is 5 and just started kindergarten at the same school Jessica attended. Both children know that Grandpa Robert loves them and will always be there for them. Jessica includes me in family celebrations, vacations, and special occasions. Last month, we all went to Disneyland together and had a wonderful time. Jessica made sure I felt valued and appreciated throughout the entire trip. Brandon has become the son-in-law I always hoped he would be. He thanks me regularly for my generosity and treats me like respected family. Brandon now understands that my financial support comes with expectations of gratitude. The family counseling sessions taught us all how to communicate better. We learned to express our needs without being hurtful or manipulative. Jessica learned that setting boundaries doesn't require being cruel to people who love you. I learned that my generosity sometimes enabled Jessica's entitlement instead of helping her grow. Now we have a balanced relationship based on mutual respect and appreciation, but I also made some important changes to protect myself in the future. I moved Jessica's house deed into a trust with specific conditions. If Jessica ever treats me disrespectfully again, the trust automatically revokes her ownership. She cannot sell or refinance the house without my written permission. These legal protections ensure that Jessica can never take my generosity for granted again. I also changed my will to reflect our new relationship dynamic. Jessica will inherit my remaining assets only if she continues treating me with respect. If she reverts to her old entitled behavior, everything goes to charity instead. Jessica knows about these changes and accepts them completely. She understands that respect and gratitude aren't optional in our family. Looking back on this experience, I learned several crucial lessons about family relationships. First, generosity without boundaries creates entitlement instead of appreciation. For years, I gave Jessica everything she wanted, without expecting anything in return. This taught her to take my love and support for granted. Second, love sometimes requires tough consequences to be effective. By threatening to take away everything I had given Jessica, I forced her to examine her behavior. Easy forgiveness wouldn't have taught Jessica to value our relationship. Third, financial support should come with clear expectations of respect. Money, given without conditions, often creates resentment instead of gratitude. Jessica now appreciates my support because she contributes to it herself. Fourth, family members can't use love as an excuse for disrespectful behavior. Being related doesn't give someone permission to treat you badly. Respect must be maintained even within the closest family relationships. Most importantly, I learned that setting boundaries actually strengthens family bonds. Jessica respects me more now because I demanded to be respected. Our relationship is healthier because we both understand the rules and expectations. Today, I have the loving family relationship I always wanted with Jessica. She values my presence in her life instead of seeing me as a burden. Jessica includes me in family decisions because she wants my input, not because she needs my money. Emma and Tyler have a grandfather who is appreciated and welcomed in their lives. At 63 years old, I finally have the respectful family relationships I deserve. The experience taught me that standing up for yourself doesn't destroy family bonds. It actually creates stronger, healthier relationships based on mutual respect. Jessica learned that taking people for granted has serious consequences. She now treats me with the love and appreciation I showed her for 23 years. Sometimes the best thing you can do for someone you love is teach them how to treat you properly. Jessica is a better daughter now because I required her to be better. Brandon is a better son-in-law because I demanded his respect, and I'm a better father because I learned to set healthy boundaries. Our family is stronger today because I refused to accept disrespectful treatment. Jessica thought she could dismiss me while keeping all the benefits I provided. Instead, she learned that love and generosity come with expectations of basic human decency. The daughter who called me not family anymore now tells me daily how grateful she is for everything I've done. The house I almost took away has become a symbol of Jessica's appreciation instead of entitlement, and the grandchildren I almost lost now have a grandfather who is truly valued and loved. Setting boundaries saved our family relationships instead of destroying them. If you are still here and enjoyed this story, please like this video. It really helps me know you want more content like this. If this story gave you some value or made you think, please share it with your friends or someone who needs to hear this message. If you have any questions or suggestions about this story, please type them in the comments below. I love reading what you think. If you want more stories like this one, please subscribe to this channel. There are many more stories coming. Remember, you teach people how to treat you by what you accept and what you refuse to tolerate.